Love it or hate it, Solo Leveling is such a fun anime, and this entire sequence, I'm gonna be blunt, it's freaking cool. It is just super cool just to see how far Jinwoo has come, and just, like, how many, like, summons he has now. Like, Beru, the Ant King, now being under his control is legitimately just, it's badass. Like, that's literally the word that comes to mind. And I'm not gonna lie, as someone that is, like, a massive fan of, like, King Arthas from World of Warcraft, or Warcraft 3, technically, I love Jinwoo's character because obviously he's the embodiment of, like, a necromancer, and seeing him, like, you know, getting stronger and stronger, and then summoning people after, you know, he, like, defeats them and kills them, it's just super cool. And, like, Beru being resurrected like this, and just seeing him a part of the lineup, it's just, man, dude, you gotta love it. I just... Say whatever you want, like, saying you hate Solo Leveling, like, you don't like it, you don't like the content or whatever, that's completely fair. That's completely fair if you just do not care for Solo Leveling because you think it's slop, or, you know, it's unworthy, so to speak. Like, for instance, you just, you think it's not deserving of the hype. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't necessarily need a 10 out of 10 story to really enjoy something. And I've never advocated ever in my videos that Solo Leveling is a 10 out of 10 story, like a written story. Like, I've never said, like, it had the best story of all time. I've never done that. I have talked about the story in a positive light, because obviously there is fragments within Solo Leveling that showcases there is a little bit of depth to it. Not, like, massive, but there is. And I think at the end of the day, the reason why Solo Leveling is just so popular right now is because it's fun. It's just, it's one of those series you could sit down in your chair, or wherever you want to watch it, and you could just turn your brain off and watch it and appreciate it. And it's a simple story. You don't need to have high brain activity. All you basically have to say is, ooh, that's cool, man, hitting really hard, man, taking them out, ooh, fight really cool. There's nothing wrong with that. There is literally nothing wrong with having that thought process. And I know some people think that's a bad thing, but there is a layer to this. For instance, if you can look at this, turn off your brain and enjoy it, but at the same time, appreciate it for what it is, but also understand it isn't like cinema in terms of writing, I think that's a-okay. But those that try to advocate that it is the best written story, the best written characters, etc., etc., I think is a little bit lies. That's way too much glazing. But, anyways, let's get into the main topic. Solo Leveling. I'm sad to see it over. I'm sad that this is the last episode of the anime for Season 2. Now, I'm gonna be blunt, there's gonna be a Season 3. And the reason how I know this is because there is not one, but two, and I think 3 times within this episode where it just basically foreshadows events that is going to happen in Season 3. Like, for instance, if they had no intention of making a Season 3, they would not have added that in. And, like, there was even a frame, like, in the middle of the episode when, like, Jinwoo became level 100 and all that. He was like, man, I finally became level 100. There was a frame, a very small, like, 1-frame shot showcasing what he obtained after reaching level 100. You can go back and look at it for yourself in that scene, but basically it hints at what the next direction for the story is and where Season 3 will probably take us. But what I'm trying to say is that even if we disregard the popularity and how much money Solo Leveling is clearly generating, it's clear the intentions from A1 Pictures was already to make a Season 3. It's a no-brainer. The question is, when will it come out? I doubt we'll have to wait too long. Judging by how Aniplex and A1 Pictures operates, they love to churn that stuff out as quickly as possible, and just judging by the overwhelming success that Season 2 has obviously had, and I mean, even Crunchyroll doing celebrity hires for their English dub, even if it was really bad, I think that they are putting a lot of eggs in this basket for Solo Leveling, and so it's just a matter of time. If I had to take an educated guess of when Season 3 would come, I would say next year. Now, I don't know if it's been announced for Season 3 yet. Maybe I missed it. I don't think there has been a Season 3 official announcement today. So the fact that there wasn't must mean that it's going to be next year. But if it is going to be at the very earliest, because once again, we're dealing with Aniplex and A1 Pictures, okay? They churn stuff out. I would assume fall of this year is possible. Don't get your hopes up on that one, but it's possible depending. Anyways, let's get on topic. The finale. Well, in typical Solo Leveling fashion, we are left on a, quite a cliffhanger. Actually, one of the most iconic, frames actually, of Jinwoo from the comic. Like, I recognize this. It's like they took literally a panel from the comic and just straight up did it in anime style. Kind of appreciate that. It's kind of like that they know that they like, you know, they like the original story and they wanted to like pay respect to what it actually looks like. I don't know, whoever did this scene 100% has read Soul Leveling's comic. But anyways, as for a final episode, there's a lot of setup. There is a lot of foreshadowing, there's a lot of directions the story can go, and one thing in particular is that we know now, thanks to Jinwoo's overall popularity and how people know about him, the entire world knows how strong he is. I mean, he was basically the turning point for why the raid against the Ant Island, you know, was able to go so well. Even though people obviously died, if it wasn't for him showing up, it would have just been GG, game over. They would have lost basically all their S ranks. So there is a lot of people that definitely want to get a hold of him, and it's hinted by the chairman himself that there will be people in due time trying to contact him, most likely either legitimate groups, different countries, but also probably shadowy figures in groups as well. I mean, we do see some potential antagonists that's introduced in this episode, like for instance, this whole cave scene, you literally see a bunch of characters just pop and appear that are clearly not human. Like, we even see, like, an ice elf here, and they just start communicating with each other, and it's clear that they don't help humans, they can open gates, they are definitely different. They are operating in the shadows, and we don't know necessarily what their objective is, but more or less, it's clear that they're not friendly. They're not, quote-unquote, on humanity's side. So, we got set up here for a shadow organization of some kind working in the background. We have, you know, the actual world, the international world, probably trying to contact Jinwoo for his abilities and how strong he is. Jinwoo setting up a guild within the episode, basically potentially setting up, like, helping people out financially and allowing people to grow and get stronger, and making maybe the gate system and just being a hunter a lot more safer. I mean, he would be able to get a lot of EXP under his belt if he was able to, let's say, send out a bunch of teams just of his shadows into different gates. When you think about it like that, it would make him incredibly useful and incredibly powerful. We also get, you know, Jinwoo's father briefly appears in the scene, showcasing his connection with these figures, so once again, more setup with that. I mean, then we have the whole Beru stuff, like, he's able to literally speak, and it just leads you to wonder what is the cap of these shadows, like, the cap of the potential of these shadows, because for Beru to be able to speak brings up a lot of questions. It makes you wonder his loyalty. It makes you wonder, can he eventually have his own will and turn against Jinwoo? There's so many questions, because obviously, with the brief interaction we got between them, Beru is completely fine with serving Jinwoo. It might be because he summoned him, but at the same time, it could be masqueraded as a lie, because he is aware that he got killed by Jinwoo, so what's to say that, he doesn't want to say his true feelings. We don't know. Like, we don't know the full extent of how the full ability works, but there's a lot of speculation, a lot of theories you can have, and it's just really cool. I like the entire scene because it reminds me so much of King Arthas from Warcraft. Like, it just, like, the whole Sylvanas stuff to, you know, Anubarak and all that. There's just some cool stuff here, and this is why Soul Leveling is just so much fun. Why so many people love Soul Leveling is because it's just fun, man. It's fun. There's nothing wrong with just sitting down and enjoying an anime. It doesn't need to have the most thought-provoking plot. It just can be done fun. And I think that's fair. That's completely fine. But, criticism is okay. Like, I mean, if people want to critique the plot, it's completely fine. I think there is definitely enough ammo to critique it, but, that's my 2 cents on the matter. Now, besides that, there is one thing negative I actually do want to talk about when it comes to this episode, so let's segue into that. It's not necessarily like a huge negative, but it was noticeable. As someone that has been really loving the art and animation of Soul Leveling, this episode took kind of a nosedive. And, like I said, it's not bad, okay? But it is just jarring, especially when you look at last week's episode and when you go into this episode and you see a bunch of still frames. Like here, I'll give a good example. There's this whole scene where you just see a bunch of characters appear and it's just literally still frames with words thrown over them and some animation here and there, but overall, there is a lot of lack of animation in some scenes throughout this episode with just straight up still frames. And there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not gonna try to critique it and say this is the worst ever Soul Leveling 1 out of 10 or whatever. But it is just, like I said, it's jarring. It was something I noticed, especially when you come back from last week's episode into this one, and especially since it is the quote-unquote finale of Season 2. But yeah, that would be the only negative I would honestly take away from this episode. I mean, there was some great sequences of animation. I mean, look at the beginning of this video. I showcased that whole summoning section, the arise and all that. Really great scene. But like I said, just a lot more noticeable still frames. But yeah, I guess that's about it. That's my overall thoughts of Solo Leveling. It's been a fun show. Sad to see it go. It's been one of those series it's just been a highlight to my week every single week as it's aired. And yeah, it's over, man. All good things must come to an end. But the next season's upon us. There's going to be probably some really good anime to look forward to. So I am looking forward to seeing what's out there and what potentially might be a dark horse that comes out of nowhere. But yeah, thank you guys. Be safe. Stay healthy. Chibi out.